Welcome to our YouTube video. If you're crazy enough to be doing this job yourself and you're trying to figure it out right now, then welcome to the Crazy Club. I tip my umbrella to you. I hope you enjoy the tutorial. Message me for any questions or concerns. Thank you. All right, we are starting the clutch job. I have Akasha laying out the blanket so that we could take the hood off of this car. Because this one is a Spyder, we're going to be taking the hood off instead of, simply going up like that. So we have to do it the hard way. We found our jacking points. First is this frame piece right here. And then we looked up in the service manual where the jack stands could go. And underneath here, there's this circular area that you would put a lift on, and that will hold the car. Okay, so the first step is we're gonna undo this by turning it to the right. That's a latch up in here that undoes this. The next thing, we go back here and we take the same Allen screw, or Allen head, it's a 6mm, and we stick it in this little screw down here, and then turn it to the left, and that will release the hydraulic pressure. And there we go. So, then we're gonna come back over here. Akasha, take the wheel.
No. Why can't we just grab it by one of the vents and pull it up, eh?
It won't hold it. I tried.
Did you try hard enough?
That's, why I stopped.
A little bit of lippage doesn't mean anything.
Oh, yeah, great.
It's only the hood of a Lamborghini.
Okay, so come here.
What?
I'm gonna take it.
Push, I'll grab the hood.
Okay, so look up in there. Do you see that silver piece of metal that the handle is on? So that is the hinge for the hood. And I'm gonna push up on it with this, and then I'm gonna have Akasha grab it up from the back. And then this will lift up, and then from the front, it'll come back like that. All right, so we lifted it up with the handle of our,
professional Lamborghini hood removal tool.
And then we're going to pull up and a little bit back. There's like a metal piece of framing there.
Yep.
And that's what I'm pulling on.
And she moves back.
There we go. Now, the next step.
The next step.
Okay. Oh wait, we should probably get them.
And it just pulls.
Now we can do the next step. This one's easy. We can just pull up.
And look at it.
And then in here, look.
It's a little release latch, and that unlatches it.
Yep. And on most Gallardos, this will hold it right here. This comes down and it holds it, but look, ours doesn't work.
Yeah, because he bought like the most whack-ass Lamborghini possible.
No, it only had 2,000 miles when we got it. It's just weird. Because we need to prop this up since we have a shoddy Lamborghini. Oh, that'll work. It's actually a bicycle handle.
Bicycle handle.
So what the plan is, we're going to take off this plug over here, these hydraulic gas supports, and then this bolt right here. And then we will be able to pull off the whole thing. Now the first thing I'm gonna do is the hydraulic struts right here.
I was waiting for you to for that to slip off and go straight through the hood.
No, it's not gonna do that, Akasha.
Hey, you don't know.
Stop the fear mongering.
I ain't feeling wrong.
You are fear mongering. Anyway, we're gonna get this. I think I need 2 hands. See you in a second. Okay, so what we did is, this plug has this little piece right here that goes into that hole right there on that bracket. All right, so we squeezed it with some pliers and pulled it out.
So if you take the bolt out, this whole thing falls, doesn't it?
Yes, so that's why you're gonna be holding it.
So in other news, don't take the bolt out yet.
No, do not do that. I swear to God, Akasha. Okay.
You
We'll
surely
be back.
don't have to. It sounds like my idea of a fun time.
We have to do this strut and bolt as well, so we will be back when we're carrying the hood over to
Now we'll be back when they got the hood set down over
the blanket. Bye, Akasha. Okay, so here's where we're at. Poor Akasha is down here, not selling his soul to the devil.
This is selling my soul to the devil. trust me.
We undid the bolt, and then what's left is this pin right here that comes out from this side. And then, because this side was a little tight, we just pushed it out with caveman tools. You know, a hammer and a little flathead screwdriver. It wasn't that hard. Don't worry. And then this side was easier, and we did the same thing.
Wait for me, my knees are hurting.
And
It's not me trapped you in his basement.
and then this poor Akasha looks like he's like stuck under the car. Okay, so the first pedestrian I've ever run over. Only the first.
Hey, at least I get the luxury of being the first person.
So we're gonna decide who gets the back and who gets the front. No dirty jokes. And then we're gonna put it over there on the happy blanket. Okay, Akasha's having fun in Disneyland back here. He's messing with the coolant cap. I'm sure that's very entertaining. And
It's a Lamborghini cooling camp.
so then the next thing we're gonna do before we jack up the car and really get into it is we're going to disconnect the battery. Now the reason that we did all of this stuff manually back here was because we can't have the battery disconnected while the hood is out in space and the car's convertible system doesn't know where it's at. So,
Just come down and crush us.
well, yeah, because then when you plug in the battery again, it'll be like, oh, where's the hood at? And then, you know, we're screwed. So,
We're screwed.
so we'll disconnect the battery right now. Okay, we got our security lug nut tool. Fits over that. And then this, just like that. We're gonna get the lug nuts loose, then we're gonna jack the car up, and then we're going to remove the rest of them and take the wheel off, take off this and the bumper. All right, here we go. Once again, Italian engineering. If you know, normally a bolt would be sticking out from here, and this would just be a nut that screws onto it. But, instead, there's a bolt that goes through the front of the tire inward, which is normally would be backwards. And then we've got our jack stands back here. You can see those circles, and we put a piece of wood there just to distribute it a little bit better on both sides. Akasha's undoing the lug bolts over here. There you go.
Jesus.
See you later.
So does this just pull off?
Oh, god damn it. Okay. Anyway, we'll be back. The fender well is out. The fender well, wheel well. And then there's
it's all the same thing.
a couple bolts down here, or screws that come out. And then you unhook the marker cable up here, and then undo this bolt. And I think it should come out. I might be wrong. I'll let you know and update you if I am. We'll be back. So what we did was, this plugs into the side marker lights right here, up here. And then you can pull on it from right here gently and pull it out. And then there's the screw I told you about right here. It's a pain in the butt, and that's on both sides. The next thing we did while I was working on all this stuff in the wheel well, Akasha undid a bunch of the bolts that were in here holding on the bumper, like this one and this one. So then we were able to basically pull it off. The next thing that we got hung up on was this heat shield. So you just undo the bolts that hold it to the bumper, and then you don't have to undo the lines. So that'll save you a little bit of work. And then up here on the top, we took off these top pieces and stuff, which required taking off this. Obviously, we're labeling everything and putting them in bags, kind of like that. And we took off those top plastic things in order to take this off. Now, I'm figuring out, I'm gonna undo this bolt and these two right here, and then I'll be able to take off this top white piece right here. So it's moving along. And then we got the bumper over here. And then you'll see where that plug goes into the marker light right there. I've undone these 3 bolts that hold on this bracket, and you can see it's more loose. I think there's something else holding it on though. Yes. So these bolts, this one right here, this one, and this one, we're holding on these side pieces. So if I was able to put them back into the car where they belong, then I did that, and that'll save me some, you know, sandwich bags. And then other times if I couldn't, then I would put them in a bag. So here's an intake bolt bag. Those go there and there and there. So we're just gonna take off this frame piece, which we're gonna have to do anyway. So we'll take that off now, and hopefully that will help. So there's these 2 up in there, right there. I missed them, sorry. All right, so we got the 4 bolts out there, but it turns out it's also bolted to the heat shield, as if that's actually gonna help if they're in a crash. But that's where it's bolted to also, so there's 3 of those.
Heat shield made out of titanium.
Is it ready? Oh, there it is.
Is it ready? Hold on. You're pulling this wire with it.
Oh, God damn it.
You just have to clip those. There's nothing you can do about it. Oh, maybe we can pull them out.
Okay, so we're gonna go pull those out, but we've got this off. All right, everybody.
Same fit.
So this metal piece up here on top of that heat shield right there is connected to that black piece of the frame. Everyone that already knows how to do this is probably laughing. However, now this is a lot more loose, so I think that's what it was. We took that out of there, and you can imagine how little room there was to do that. Poor Akasha's over there.
Trying to find the right size. Shut up, Cody.
Okay, we finally got that off. And oh my God, that was awful. Basically, there's like a clip that forks around that screw right there. And then there's heat shielding that comes over on this side and gets hung up there. So it was almost impossible to slide this thing out. And then when we did, it was getting hung up on this, so we had to unplug that in a weird way because that also wasn't very accessible. So in order to get access to these 2 bolts that were up in here so I could slide the heat shielding this way, I undid these, and then this part came down, and then I stuck a socket up through there and undid a bolt right here and here, and then that heat shielding above it came down in this way so I could slide the whole thing on. Oh my God, that was ridiculous. And the same thing over here. You can see I hadn't put the heat shielding back up in here. So it came up through here, and there was 2 bolts that were holding on heat shielding to the bottom of the tail light, and then as soon as you undo those, it comes down and you can slide it wherever and get the heat shielding out from right there. Then here's the heat shielding that came around the back and stuff. I just put the bolts back into it after I took it out so that we don't lose them. And then here's that back piece right there. So the next thing we have to do is take off this up here. Then we can actually get into important work. So we have to take off this part that goes around like that. And then that means we have to take out those 2 bolts on both sides. And And then there's some stuff back here attached to it. So I think we have to undo those 2 bolts. And then this will just push out of there like that. You know what I mean?
Go back to the beginning.
And then
Of the first
next part, we have to make sure that this stuff is all good to stay like it is. Oh, God. Really? The other ones came out. There we go. Of course. See, you can't film with one hand and then only control the drill with the other. Because now it's right there. Okay. So, bolts like this are the bane of my existence because you can't just drill it out. And then I don't think you really even have room to put the things in there like this. See? So, those are the most annoying parts. Oh, I'm back. And of course, there's more. There's always more. So look, down here, there's these 2 bolts right here. He's fixing something. Oh, turn off the music, turn off the music. I'm messing with you.
I'm the one holding the hammer.
I'm messing with you. Okay, so we're undoing those bolts right there so that I can take this off and then proceed to get access to that. And then, I don't even know what's next. I know that there's more down there, but oh God. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Kind of. And we've got this thing removed. I'm going to put these bolts back in. And now we have access to this right here. Get that second one further back over there. This 13mm bolt right here. And that connects all the way over there. So watch. Aha! See? We got it. Alright. So it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Look, there's one over here too. Alright, cool. We're making progress. Alright, so you take off this little clip right here from that metal piece. This thing goes up in there. You just squeeze those tabs on the top and the bottom. And then this right here goes in there. So now we have no wires holding together this piece. But it's still stuck. This bolt over here wasn't actually all the way out, so it was getting it hung up, so that's why I was having issues, which is embarrassing. So here's what we're doing now. That bolt, I swear to God, okay, it's 16mm, and it goes down right there, and it hooks up right there. Look at this. Look at how long that thing is. No wonder I was sitting there screwing this for so long. I don't know what he's doing over there.
Getting the bolt out.
I'll get to the car right there. Go do that. Go do that. Alright.
I'm just going out. I'm here to only chip it.
Back to this again. Alright, so we took the airbox out. We've got all of this exhaust stuff back here, and they plug into there and stuff in the muffler. We're thinking we can just undo these bolts here around the exhaust and yank the muffler and the heat shielding all off in one piece. So in order to do that, we had to take off the airbox. There's these clamps, of course. And they go around here. Blah, 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 like that. And they're all tight, and then they basically get stuck around this ring from the heat. And I got some help from one of our sources for the video. We basically just used a hammer and a flathead screwdriver, mostly, and a little bit of a pry bar on that one over there, and that helped a lot and they came off. That bolt, this bolt, and there's one back there, and I'm probably missing one because that's just how it goes. And that'll be the dry sump oil tank. I'm gonna have to take off these clamps, of course. But yeah, that's that part of it, and you also have to undo those, anything that's connected to it. And then I've got my oil thing over here. Some of the dry sump tank up there. We got everything taken out, and there's a bolt I took out here, and then there's one on the other side. I'm gonna wedge this out with a knife. As soon as I get that bolt out, it's gonna go into the drain pan, and then we can pull out the tank. Great. Oh, Akash, I need a screwdriver.
Okay.
A flathead.
You need a flat head, you see, huh? Where's the flat head at?
I think it's up there.
I think you're up there.
Okay, we're almost there.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Wait up.
Oh, oil. Oh, I can't. There's no room under here. Okay. Haha. Oh God! Oh God! Oh God!
Kitty litter.
Oh God!
Kitty litter.
Dude!
Oh my Jesus.
Oh God! All right, we're starting day 2. We got the oil tank out. And I've got the engine lift prepared. As you can see, from that little oil spill, we had to go across the street and get some sand. Now the oil tank, I just got it out from underneath this bar. It just swung out that way after a little bit of maneuvering. I put most of the bolts back where they could go if I was able to. So there's these two that went in the top, and then there's these clips. I put these bolts in a bag. I had a lot of issues getting to this bolt specifically because there's no room between here and there. And when you have the oil tank sitting right here, there's just no access. So we actually, in the middle of the job yesterday, had to go and get a set of these instead of this so that you could get access. And then that went along a lot faster after, faster, not Foster, what the heck, faster after that. And then there's the same hose down here. That's what you saw me working on when we drained the oil out. So what are the next steps? The next steps are going to be, to get the transmission off, we're going to just undo this bolt, or that nut, and the same thing on the other side. And we're starting to see mounting bolts. So we've got, there it is, one right there. There's one right there. There's another one over there. Are there any back here? Can we see it? I don't know, we can't see. Anyway, that's that. The transmission is still here. So I think this time I'm actually ready to pull it out. I will tell you why it's still here. So there's a lot of little things like this that was right there. You see what I mean? That thing was in there, and then it was leaking. And then there was this one over here that plugged in right there, and a bracket. So we have both of those out. I'll just leave that there. And then the differential bolts, keep in mind, are like 50 pounds each. So they're very tightly torqued on there. And here they are. So we got those off. The passenger side was a lot harder because it has this reservoir over here. I've removed this little swivel thingy so that it's not attached to the transmission. We've basically got everything actually disconnected this time, like for real. And down here, you got all of the bell housing bolt nuts off of it. It was awful. And then that's still dripping a little bit. There was a another one of these plugs down there. You can see it's disconnected and hanging right there. And I did that to get access to that bolt. And we were gonna have to take it off anyway because you need that off to pull the transmission out, so it was inevitable. But I think it's actually ready to be pulled out, but I don't want to jinx myself. Yes!
Woo-hoo-hoo!
It's out! We're officially halfway done!
After 2 days, look,
We're halfway done!
It'll be another 2 days to put it back in.
Oh my god. This is awful. This is bad. This has been all horrible. I mean, I know I'm trying to show you on YouTube how to do this yourself, but don't ever do this yourself.
I know this is supposed to be a tutorial.
Don't ever do this yourself. Unless you...
$6,000 to do.
And I'm sorry, I'm telling you not to do it at least like 20 minutes into the video. But
Pay Lamborghini the $6,000 to do it yourself, because this is soloable.
yeah, no, this is bad. This is bad, but it's done halfway. Anyway, here's a serious video. So, we had all of these bell housing bolts done, except that freaking one right there. So you have to do that on the bottom. It sticks out way further. So while all the other nuts for them are over here,
I think that's like
this one comes out.
I think that's supposed to guide the transmission.
Yeah, this one comes out all the way over here. So, yeah, just so you know. And then we got caught up on this power steering hose and stuff, especially because it's metal. And then this plug over here. And of course, the clip for this plug is on the backside facing the transmission. So we really couldn't get access to it. So here's the pin. It was on the ground. I guess I can just slide that in there. But we had to give it a little bit of brute force. We can't really say that too loudly, but there we go. And
You say it loudly, and the ghost of Lamborghini himself comes and beats the crap out of
yeah, you have to make sure that all of the reservoirs and stuff that's right there is able to come out. And we had to make absolutely sure it was able to clear over this, over here. And it was all good. Oh, and also, this black thing down there, that like can thing, you have to make sure that that gets over. So just be very careful. And it'll work. You just have to undo a crap load of stuff. You know, after about 8 hours of work today, it came off, so.
It's a look yesterday. 2 days, folks. It's supposed to be a 2-day job.
Oh yeah, we took the sway bars off too, by the way.
The sway bar.
The sway bar off right here. But the thing is, we had to take it off from over here too, because it wrapped around and it wouldn't come off.
All right, now we're taking off the flywheel. Here's Cody. He's got the wrench.
Oh my god. You got a breaker bar and then
By breaker bar we mean we've got a cheater bar. A breaker bar and a cheater bar are two different things.
fine touch or whatever. Show them the screwdriver now.
We've got a screwdriver right here jammed up against the teeth of the flywheel to hold it in place. Otherwise, it's just gonna spin
Alright,
and turn the engine over.
these are 50 pounds each.
And Cody's struggling over here because they're tight.
They were smoking.
Smoking. Yeah.
Got them off. Here we go. The remain seal. We got one of those. There we go. Ah!
If I put it installed, we use a socket that's the same size as a real main seal. Just tap in. Since you don't have a socket that big, just tap evenly around it with my hand.
I know. I saw those rear main seal tools online. There we go. Now I have to get the pilot bearing out. I'm going to use that bread trick where you stuff it with bread in there until it pushes it out. Know what I mean? They are. And there's our new throwout bearing. We'll set that up here, all nice and pretty. I'm just warning you, that was nasty. Look at all that nasty grease. It was caked on there, thick. And here's the nasty old one. Absolutely disgusting. But whatever, that's what we're here for. So, moving right along. I've got those two seals and the new throwout bearing, and there's the 3 bolts. So, blah, 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 blah. Nasty, nasty, nasty. Disgusting. All right, so here's what we did. So I put that on there, obviously, and then the thing has like a part that kind of sticks out, and it goes into this silver part. You might have noticed in the previous part, or rewind it and look for it, that there's part of it that is set further back. And this throwout bearing goes into that area. So you can't just push it in there, it won't let you. And you can't really hammer it either because it's a $700 part. And by the way, I did try hammering it and it doesn't work, so don't do it yourself. Anyway, so what I did was I got it pretty close. I put the bolts in, and I've got my ratchet here with the star key and the extension and everything. And I'm just going around and tightening them. Oh, look, it's stuck. Anyway, so I'm going around and tightening them until the thing is in. Okay, here's what's up. So I was out here cleaning up and everything, and I moved the transmission into the garage. So I wanted to, you know, get kind of a head start tomorrow and put the clutch sensor in. And I realized, oh, hey, you have to take out the throwout bearing that I just put in to get to the clutch sensor. And then the Torx wrench that it used was, you know, just really annoying. Those bolts were for some reason really tight, and there was no access up in there, but it was a pain in the butt, and I got it done. So I've just put the throwout bearing back on, and this time I used the thread locker like I'm supposed to, and same with these 2 bolts up here that I actually didn't even need to take out. You really only need to do these 2 up here on the bottom, and yeah. And then let me show you up here on the top. So there's a whole lot of these on the car. So do you see there's like a brand new zip tie that I just put in there. And then there's this thing here on the bottom that the zip tie slides through. So there's like a clip, and it goes through the bottom of this bracket. And then there's a thing on the top where you can slide a zip tie through. And that way you don't have to get a new clip every single time. You can just slide a zip tie through it. Kind of like this for the other thing that goes next to this. So when I put this here tomorrow, the entire wiring harness goes through here, and I'm gonna close it up in there like that. More and more and more. There's the old clutch sensor. There's always more stuff to do. Oh my God. And I had to redo the epoxy over here because when we were removing the transmission, it broke it. And then we opened it up and realized that the epoxy had gotten all over the inside of that little plastic pipe. So this time what I did is I put a very small amount and I touched it and pulled it off and touched it and pulled it off several times to make sure there was nothing on the inside of the pipe. And it's clear, and then instead of, you know, globbing it all over the place, I just put some around the outside so that it wouldn't get in and clog up that pipe and then cause more problems and make me have to redo this entire job. All right, here's our new flywheel, all nice and smooth, nothing in there. I used the bread trick on the pilot bearing back there. The rear main seal, I just tapped it in. Obviously, I put some oil around the inside and outside ring. There's this little spring up in there next to the pilot bearing. Some needle nose pliers, a knife, and a screwdriver, flathead will get those out. Now we're about to start putting the flywheel on, so I only have one bolt in here. But basically, when we start getting ready to torque it, it's going to be 53 pounds, and then one, and then go down to the opposite side too, and then do all the bolts on this side and then all the bolts on this side, and then you'll have your flywheel on. I also, before I separated the flywheel and the clutch, put some tape there so that I know that it's lined up and balanced using this bolt. So then over here, this bolt will go right there, and then it'll be balanced and the car won't explode. So there we go. Oh, I gave you some bad instructions, guys. Okay, so there's this hole right here between these two bolts, and that lines up with this little silver pin that's on the back of the engine right there. So make sure that you get that lined up as well. All right, we got the clutch on. We have to torque these bolts up here around it, those black ones, to 15 pounds. So all I can say is I knew that something like this was going to happen. And I knew that, you know, there would be something I forgot, just that one thing, even though I did everything else correctly. And then I was going to have to undo all the reassembly and everything else. So guess what? Ha! This thing. This is going to be the death of me, all right? So I was supposed to take that off of the old clutch and put it on the new clutch. I had no idea that I was supposed to do that. Because, let me get under here. Here's the starter. This goes into the bell housing, and these gears hook up to that ring and turn it. I and Akasha assumed that it goes in there and it hooks up with the flywheel, but that's not true. So now I'm gonna have to take off the exhaust and see if I can partially take out the transmission without taking it all the way out, and you know, undo the clutch bolts and put the ring on it, and you know. I knew this was gonna happen. This is awful, but whatever. This isn't going to be as bad because I know it's not going to be as bad as it was before. So, oh my God. Look, I did it right this time. It was this thing I told you about in the last clip. So I'm getting it on. I'm just putting the bolts on kind of hand tight right now before I torque them down in the right order. All right. Look, I'm excited for absolutely no reason, but I'll show you. So I have myself a strap system Goes from the starter over there to that frame in front of the engine. And on this side, it goes from that frame. And it was around the infamous black can. So when you try to put the transmission in, or you're trying to put it back in, that can gets hung up on everything, and it makes the back end of the transmission stick up really high, which then means that everything down there will not line up because it's basically lifting up the engine on that super long alignment pin in the middle. And it just won't go in until you get that black can over the hump, but the black can like doesn't really want to go, because again, you have to move it forward, but to move it forward, you have to move the black can. So it's just kind of like a cycle of impossible, but you have to just find a way. I have this strap system and I cinched it down on both sides until it freaking went in, and then I lowered it down, and then once you lower it down, it'll be level with the engine. You can push it in. So that's where we're at. Now I can disconnect the stupid hoist and go to bed because it's midnight. We have Norm as our feature over there. Oh. And with enough wiggling, we got it in, but what happens is it gets to this point right here, and then you stick on whatever bolt has a thread on it. There's only going to be like one thread sticking out, and then you tighten that one, and you go around it, and you tighten whatever's sticking out. And then eventually you'll have whatever's still in will get sticking out, and you'll be able to put a nut on it and suck it down. So right now I'm doing that with the bolt right there. And as I tighten that one, I'm getting more threads on the corner. And eventually we'll have the whole thing all the way in. It just took a lot of wiggling and turning that shaft up in there to turn the spline and get it in. But a lot of wiggling, mostly, and tightening and creativity. All the bolts tight around the edge, and that will allow you to drop it down onto this bolt right here. And then we're just tightening these up using some crescent wrenches because I don't have any sockets big enough for it. And then once we finish those, we'll put the cap on there. We might have to figure out a way to bleed it. So we may end up having to take the cap off again and put clutch fluid in there as we bleed it. And then these plugs over here, I have them all labeled. And then this is for the starter. This is for the starter. This, I think, if I remember correctly, also goes to the starter. And then there's a plug back there. You see it right there? And that plugs in right there. You can't really see it. There's this transmission fluid line that plugs into the side of that right there. It kind of just goes up in there. You see it? It goes right there where the tip of my finger is. Plugs in there. Make sure when you're doing that you have your bolts. They look like this. There's one washer that goes towards the head of the bolt, and then one that goes on the other side of that hose, and then they just bolt in there. So once we get everything plugged in and get these exhaust mounts and stuff put on, I will update you again and tell you the next step, which the next step is putting the oil tank in, and then the sway bar, and blah 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 blah. Got a fresh one there, a new one there, and a new zip tie there. It's nice. All right, I'll be back. Okay, so make sure you re-put this bracket around that black pipe up there, and then it's going to line up with this hole on the differential cover. So it's going to go in there, imagine it in there, and then the pipe is right next to it, around there. Necessary for it to turn on is in. So Let's go and connect the battery and see if it'll turn on as soon as I get this plugged in. There's that. I don't know exactly what it does, but we'll plug it in just in case. I know all the other wires do though. So, I'm gonna come in here, and there's gonna be a few sparks because that's always how this battery goes. Go down. Okay, it's got some good contact there. The car is going to freak out. Oop. Sucking down some oil. It's gonna tell me the back lights aren't on. It's gonna say all kinds of stuff. Ooh, it's sucking down a lot of oil. That pump was running for a while. Yeah, I know. Whoa! Holy crap! Look at this! Dude, it sounds crazy. It sounds insane. Yeah, look, the car's freaking out. Whoa! Thank God. It started. Oh, look. We finally got it. All right, so you basically do the taking apart, but backwards. And look, I also put some, wiped the plastic and stuff down with some WD-40, lightly and carefully. And now it's all nice and shiny again. Same with that muffler, it was nasty and dirty. Or not the muffler, the heat shield, technically. Just make sure you plug in everything and just remember where all the little bolts go. Like that one right there, or the one next to it, or that one on the back right there. Just weird little things like that. Taillights. I took the taillights out and it made it easier to put stuff in. And then this bottom corner one right here, you can put in from back here. And the other ones you do from up here before you put in the plastic. I didn't even drain out all the oil in the engine, and I put in like 5 quarts into the tank and let it circulate around a little bit. There should be a lot in the tank, but it doesn't seem like it's really even full. This one takes the 5W30. It's kind of weird because you take this 50200 and you translate that to like the non-European version, and it's 5W30. And then we'll be done. I can't actually believe it. It's finally done. It was a lot of work for the first time. But if you watch this video and the other one by Supa Tony and do some other research and you talk to the people who sell you the clutch and everything, make sure your questions are asked. You can also message me. You'll know how to do it. You'll definitely be more prepared than I was. Tire was a little low. It does that sometimes. We're riding around with the hood and the bumper off. Got our plate down there. Let me see if it's done. So, it's driving smoothly. I talked with Sean from the clutch company. He said drive it in manual and sport, obviously to break-in. You don't go over 4,000 RPM for the first 500 miles. Here we go. Smooth. Nice. Now, obviously, the car is freaking out because the hood isn't on and it's freaking out. But I gotta drive, so I'll be back. Hello, this is the last clip of the video. And I wanted to talk to you about what's going on and, you know, why the Lamborghini is not in the garage. So after you do the clutch job itself, you need to take it to someone who has the fancy computer and they're going to do all of the post-clutch job resets on the transmission computers, the clutch position sensor that you changed, and they're going to make sure that the car knows it has a new clutch in it. And that way it doesn't slip as much and it doesn't damage your brand new clutch that's really soft while it's breaking in. So after that, because it's going to change the basically the kiss point and stuff, it's not going to allow as much slippage. And don't be worried, but the car is going to buck a little bit when you're taking off from a start. In the previous clip, or one of the previous clips, I showed you taking off from a stoplight, and I was like, oh, it's smooth, right? But that's only because the computer hadn't been reset yet, and it was slipping it more because it thought it had the old clutch in it still. But once you get that reset, it's going to buck a little bit. It's going to be almost like a manual car again, a manual transmission, in the way that it engages and kind of goes forward really fast and then calms down once you get going. But they made it sound like that goes away after you get the clutch broken in. Now, here's my personal story. 5 minutes down the freeway after I picked it up from the dealership, the air conditioning compressor made a giant noise, and it sounded like something fell out of the car. Nothing did fall out of the car, but that's what it sounded like while I was going down the freeway. And then it started blowing hot air on me, and I guess the air conditioning compressor had imploded on itself. So that's why the car is not here. They are now having to change out the compressor and the dryer, and that's going to be $2,500. Even if I sent them, you know, kind of like cheaper parts, the same thing though, it was a new compressor, $280 instead of $850. And I sent them a dryer from Scuderia, where I got a lot of the parts for the clutch job from. And even saving money there, it's still going to be like $2,500 because it's 7 hours of labor. They charge like $2,000. You add everything up, it's like $2,500. So that's frustrating, but that's why the car is not here right now. And once it gets back, hopefully we can get rid of it. We've had mechanics tell us it's a lemon, but we're sick of fixing it. And that's what's going on with it now. And that's why it's not here. But once it does get back, we're going to finish breaking in the clutch for the last few hundred miles. And I want to tell you about the actual clutch that I have. Now, the one that I got was the high-tech exotic 200% clutch. They made it sound like they weren't going to make it keep making that clutch for very much longer, and they were going to switch to only making the 300% clutch and the 350% clutch, and they're getting a 400% clutch. Because of all of the previous issues with my car, I don't have faith that it would last long enough to use a 300% clutch, so that's why I got the 200% clutch. You probably should get the 300. I've just had mechanics and people tell me that my car is kind of a lemon, so I don't think it was going to be worth it to get the 300% clutch. Yeah, so that's why I have the 200 in my car. And I want to also give out credits and shout outs to all of my sources that gave me information for the video. Obviously, the blogs and stuff online, the forums, those are extremely helpful. And I'm so glad that those are there. They filled in a few of the gaps on, you know, how tight you torque the differentials, how tight you torque the flywheel and the clutch. That was very helpful. Then there's Supa Tony. He has a video about it, but he has a pre-LP coupe, and I think he has a manual. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think his car is a manual because I didn't see the E-gear accumulator and all of the E-gear parts on his transmission. So I think it was a manual. And his video was very helpful. I also talked to him on Instagram a few different instances where I was having issues, and he was very nice and reached back out to me and gave me any information that I was missing. Then there's Sean at High Tech Exotic, where you buy the clutch from. If you're going to do the job yourself, obviously watch this video, but if there's anything you don't know, just ask him, and he's a guru on Italian car clutches because he makes them. So he can give you any missing information as well. And then there was the 2 videos that Tavares did where he was working on his flywheel and his clutch. Those videos, even though they weren't dedicated clutch replacement videos, were very helpful. And that's because he showed the torquing specs for the flywheel and the clutch and what order to put them in. I showed those in my video. I got those from him, so from watching his video at least. And remember, the flywheel is torqued to about 53 pounds. The clutch, after you put on the gear ring, remember, don't be like me, don't forget that. Those are torqued to about 12. I did mine, I think, at like 15, just to be sure. Both of those use blue thread locker. And then you have the differential bolts. Those are also about 53 pounds. You do not want to mess those up either, because they can eventually loosen themselves up and explode and cause a lot of problems. So you want to get those torqued down to 53 and use thread locker. After that, there's not really any specific torquing specs on anything else. And I showed in the video what order to do the flywheel bolts and the clutch bolts. And I think that's about all the information that I have for you at the moment. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped. And I really I hope that you guys reach out if you have any problems. I'll leave contact information on Instagram in the description, along with the parts and tools list and the credit list.
Windmill for the land, love forever hand in hand. Take it all, live on your stride. It is taking, falling down. Love forever, love is free. Let's turn forever, you and me. Windmill for the land. Is everybody in?
Laughing gas, these hazmats, fast cats, lining them up like ass crack. Ladies, ponies at the track, it's my chocolate attack. Shit, I'm stepping in harder this year.